Good morning and welcome to Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV Big Fox. I'm your host, Frank Acom. We are broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio here on Market Street in Corning, and we have a busy show in store for you today. In the 7 o'clock hour, we're going to find out all about the Book of Mormon, which is coming to the Clemens Center. We'll be talking about that. First, let's go to viewer comments. Good morning, Frank. Well, good morning, Mark. I see the leader we took out in Iran, his son is put into power. Not what Trump wanted. And the DOJ published documents on Trump's sexual assault allegations. Yes, that was released a couple days ago. FBI documents summarizing interviews with a woman who made unsubstantiated claims of sexual assault against Donald Trump have been released as part of the Department of Justice's trove of Epstein files. The release files reports from the documents were missing from the DOJ's database, prompting Democrats to accuse officials of a cover-up. The DOJ said it mistakenly withheld the files during its review process because they had been incorrectly coded as duplicative. The memos describe a series of interviews in 2019 with the woman who makes uncorroborated claims against Trump and Jeffrey Epstein. Hey, with the time change and it being Monday, a little tongue-tied this morning. The president has consistently denied wrongdoing in relations to that case. Okay, couple of quick things with no real segues. Country Joe McDonald, the lead singer of Country Joe and the Fish, has passed away at the age of 84. The singer, who co-founded the band known for its psychedelic folk rock and legendary 1969 Woodstock performance, died Saturday evening, according to TMZ. His cause of death is unclear. The singer, born Joseph Allen McDonald, was 84 years old. Country Joe and the Fish was one of the most influential groups in San Francisco's music scene in the mid to late 60s, addressing counterculture issues like protesting the Vietnam War and recreational drug use. They're known for songs like I Feel Like I'm Fixin' to Die Rag, one of the era's most recognizable anti-war, anti-Vietnam War protest songs. Now, in full disclosure, I did interview him one time, and it was a tough interview. But Country Joe has passed away at the age of 84. Also, it was announced yesterday by the UFC what the lineup of fighters for the big Freedom 250 fight event will be. Top billing went to, I'm going to try some of these names here, Ilia Topuria, lightweight champion, and Justin Gaethje, interim lightweight champ, for the Sunday, June 14th event planned to be held on the grounds of the White House in Washington, D.C. Co-main was assigned to Alex Pereira and Curl Gain, who will vie for the interim heavyweight belt. Quote, the rest of the main card rounds out like this. Sugar Shane O'Malley versus Ayman Zahibi. Mariko Ruffy versus Michael Chandler. Bo Nickel versus Kyle Dukakis. And Diego Lopez versus Steve Garcia. A key point about these bouts is that each, except for the Pierre Gain fight, will feature an American fighter. The event is to take place on the South Lawn before a limited crowd. President Trump has confirmed the UFC event at the White House all the way back in October. In recent weeks, Dana White has struck back at accusations that he has turned the UFC political due to his close relationship with Trump. Last week on CBS's Sunday Morning, he said that he and the president have been good friends for 20 years. Long before Trump ran for president, he added that his fans understand his authenticity. How about you be authentic and just be yourself? How about that? Just be authentic. You don't have to agree with me, and you don't have to like it. I don't have to agree with you, but we can all still get along. I mean, this is how it's supposed to work, White said at the time. Okay. Speaking of sports, here's something interesting. If you're running in the Los Angeles Marathon, well, you would have done it yesterday, and you're having a tough time, you don't think you can finish? Well, don't worry. Organizers of the marathon have decreed that runners who are out of sorts can receive their medals about 18 miles and do not have to complete the full 26.2 miles that comprise an actual marathon. Quote, if you're having a tough day and want to end your race before 26.2, you can choose to take the turn at mile 18 and head into the finish line early. The McCourt Foundation said on its website, you do not need to notify anyone of your decision. You can opt out to take this route at any time. But don't think this will become a trend. The provision for participants down on their luck or in poor health is only in play for this year. You will receive your finisher medal and any challenge medal you've earned, and our official race results will be updated at a later date to reflect your time and mileage. There's no shame in making a smart decision for your body. Our weather conversation has been ongoing. We start actively monitoring it with the LA Fire Department, who partners with the National Weather Service 10 days before the race. This was earlier this week. Then the team was alerted about the warmer temperatures, and we communicated to our runners about how they could have a safe race day. So if you've had a tough day, you don't feel like finishing the marathon, no worries. You still get the full medal. Now, earlier, what was it? Probably, I think it was Friday, there was a funeral for Jesse Jackson. Well, Reverend Jesse Jackson's son ripped into former presidents Joe Biden, Barack Obama, and Bill Clinton for using the late civil rights icon's memorial service to take shots at President Trump. Jesse Jackson Jr. said the grandstanding Democrats didn't really know his father after they used their eulogies to bash the president, his policies, and his vision for America during Friday's star-studded send-off. Quote, yesterday I listened for several hours to 3 United States presidents who do not know Jesse Jackson, the grieving son said. He maintained a tense relationship with the political order, not because the presidents were white or black, but the demands of our message, the demands of speaking for the least of these, those who are disinherited, the dispossessed, the disrespected, demanded not Democrat or Republican solutions, but demanded a consistent prophetic voice that at no point in time ever sold us out as people. And it speaks volumes about who the Reverend Jesse Jackson was, he said. Now, during Friday's service at Chicago's House of Hope, Obama warned about the state of the nation, calling each day a new assault on our democratic institutions. Each day we're told by those in high office to fear each other and to turn on each other, and that some Americans count more than others, and that some don't even count at all, said the president, the former president. Everywhere we see greed and bigotry being celebrated, and bullying and mockery masquerading as strength. It's hard to hope in those moments. Biden also claimed that Trump administration doesn't share any of the values that we have. Former Vice President Kamala Harris bragged she predicted a lot about what's happening right now. That seems to be her talking point, that she predicted this. I'm not saying I told you so, but we did see it coming. But what I did not predict is that we would not have Jesse Jackson with us right now to help us get through this. Clinton, who kept his eulogy mostly free of politics, remembered Jackson warmly as a good friend, and Trump did not attend the memorial service. Joe Biden also claimed that I'm, we'll say, heck of a lot smarter than most of you during his speech at Jesse Jackson's memorial. This seems about right. Biden had been telling the mourners how as a child he stuttered and was mocked for it, noting that oftentimes people make fun of such things because they think it makes the person appear unintelligent. He continued his remarks by stating, quote, if I told you I had a cleft palate or a club foot, none of you would laugh. But it's okay to laugh at stuttering. I'm not being critical of you, but think about it. It's the one place where people think you're stupid. After a few claps were heard from the crowd, moments before he said, oh, really? I'm a heck of a lot smarter than most of you. All kidding aside, it makes you feel really smart. Okay. All right. Seems about right. And since we're going through some weird... Oh, we got a lot of comments coming in. Thank you for that. A lot of waves and a lot of comments. We'll read those after we return from a break. But I will read this one. It's 6:15 a.m. It shouldn't be this dark. I agree. I know. I'm not a big fan of the time change either. Okay, so we've got a couple of updates on pop culture. I don't want to spend too much time on this, but I think it's worth mentioning. These two tie in together. Do I want to do? No, I want to do this in the next segment. You can tell time change. People are out running. A lot of people out exercising. We have a couple of updates on Iran. We're also going to talk about the bomb put at Gracie Mansion. We have a couple other New York State updates to get to as well. But when we return, a couple pop culture stories, and then we'll get into the nitty-gritty for the day. So stay with us. We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV. Big Fox, stay with us.
Allegiance Flight. From Elmira to Myrtle Beach starts May 22nd, 2026. Whether it's a weekend escape or a week in the sun, Myrtle Beach is closer than ever. Non-stop to sun, sand, and seaside days. From takeoff to toes in the sand, your coastal getaway starts right here at Elmira Corning Regional. Mornings on the boardwalk, afternoons on the golf course, and evenings with oceanfront dining or a flight away with Allegiant's new direct flight. Starts May 22nd, 2026. Book now at AllegiantAir.com. Allegiance from Elmira to Myrtle Beach starts May 22nd, 2026. Whether it's a weekend escape or a week in the sun, Myrtle Beach is closer than ever. Non-stop to sun, sand, and seaside days. From takeoff to toes in the sand, your coastal getaway starts right here at Elmira Corning Regional. Mornings on the boardwalk, afternoons on the golf course, and evenings
That's
with
why installation has to be
flight
right
away
every
with
time.
Allegiant's new direct flight. Starts May 22nd, 2026.
Because
Book
that
now
speed,
at
details matter.
AllegiantAir.com.
There have always been a few, ready to fight and win. Since 1775, these few have been Marines, and they come from across this land to defend the future of our nation. This year, our Corps celebrates 250 years, and Marines are proud to serve this country, each other, and all that is still to come for America.
Morning, I'm meteorologist Brandon Weathers. We can enjoy a warm and sunny Monday. Southwest wind around 10 miles per hour pushes the temperature in towards 67 degrees, about 25 degrees above our daily average high. In fact, average of low 40s will stay about that more mild overnight lows, even with clear skies. Then back in the 70s on Tuesday. We should see a wet stretch Tuesday night through Wednesday.
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam, brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back, broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio here on Market Street in Corning. Let's go to some viewer comments. Yeah, and then Kamala Harris started cackling at the end of her statement. Yes, that's her normal laugh. Ken writes in, you have to laugh at how opportunistic and divisive the legacy media is. I just heard a news report stating that gas prices are on the rise. Many costs are rising and the market is falling. Americans are getting scared. They failed to mention that over the last year, gas prices fell dramatically, fuel-related costs dropped substantially, inflation slowed dramatically, and the market hit historic high after historic high. But the only message that the TDS sheeple, Trump Derangement Syndrome sheeple, heard was today's sky is falling warning. Then Trump and the Republicans are destroying the country. Yes, that will be the continued message from here until November. Okay. Country singer Maren Morris attacked President Trump and his supporters in a TikTok video, declaring that she doesn't have forgiveness for Americans who she claims got bamboozled by a propaganda machine. Quote, I don't have forgiveness for the triple Trumpers or any of the Trumpers. You did vote for this. She went on to describe the president as a dementia-ridden, diaper-clad, cornball ex-TV host, bankrupt to blank. Look at his stats, actually. You voted for this and you got bamboozled. And I get it. Like, Fox News is a propaganda machine of just, like, brain rot for boomers. But like, this is literally the result of employing and voting for losers. I hope she added, and Pete Hegseth, oh my gosh, girl, his blanking, alcoholic sideburns, you're done. Okay. Brilliant statement from Marion Morris. And we've talked about Bruce Springsteen, obviously no fan of Trump. He's starting his No Kings tour. Well, fans are becoming increasingly upset at Bruce Springsteen for his absurdly sky-high ticket prices for his 2026 anti-Trump crusade concert tour. Excuse me. I got something in my throat here. Ticket prices are so high that one fan wrote on social media, unfortunately, no one can afford to actually go. We're living through dark, disturbing, and dangerous times, Springsteen said in his video on the tour. But do not despair. The cavalry is coming. Bruce Springsteen and the E Street Band will be taking the stage this spring from Minneapolis to California to Texas to Washington for the Land of Hope and Dreams America Tour. We'll be rocking your town in celebration and in defense of America, American democracy, American freedom, our American Constitution, and our sacred American dream, all of which are under attack by our wannabe king and his rogue government in Washington, D.C. So Fox News is reporting thousands of fans are blasting Springsteen for the prices that you'll have to pay to save democracy. Quote, "It's so sad for anyone that's a huge fan of yours and wants to very badly see you in concert. Springsteen, but just can't afford these ticket prices, especially now when the economy is so bad. I thought that if anyone would really understand what I'm saying, because you yourself talk about making the world more affordable to live in. $1,000 for upper seats. Really, he was the one fighting this, and now you cannot get tickets at a decent price? I've always had floor seats, 26 concerts of his, and now floor seats are $7,000. I don't think I'm using a mortgage payment on seats." Wow. So $1,000 for upper seats, and then you can go to be lectured about the one percenters and lectured how bad Trump is for the common man. Now, yesterday, Trump said he will not sign any other bills until the Save America Act is passed and election integrity is secured. In a post on Truth Social, Trump also praised election integrity activist Scott Presler for his work on getting the act across the finish line, noting it is widely supported among voters. The president also made it clear he wants the best version passed, which will require proof of citizenship to register to vote and voter identification. This is his Truth Social post saying, "Great job by hardworking Scott Presler on Fox and Friends, talking about how using the filibuster, or talking filibuster, in order to pass the Save America Act, an 88% issue with all voters. It must be done immediately. It supersedes everything else. Must go to the front of the line. I, as president, will not sign other bills until this is passed, and not the watered-down version. Go for the gold. Must show voter ID and proof of citizenship. No mail-in ballots except for military. Illness, disability, travel. No men and women's sports. No transgender mutilization for children. Do not fail." President Donald J. Trump. Trump has been urging Republicans to pass the act, saying it's something that they must do and that this is a country-defining fight for the soul of our nation. Now, a February 25th and 26th Harvard-Harris poll of 1,999 registered voters found overwhelming bipartisan support for the Save America Act. Of the respondents, 71% support the Save America Act, including the requirement of proof of citizenship to register, voter ID, states to boot non-citizens off their voter rolls, and states to share voter rolls with the Department of Homeland Security. The SAVE Act has support from 91% of Republicans, 50% of Democrats, and 69% of independents. Trump recently told Senate Majority Leader John Thune and Senator John Cornyn he wants to act on his desk before he will make an endorsement in the Texas Senate race. As Trump has not made an endorsement and still seems to be weighing the decision, all eyes turn to Cornyn and Senate GOP leadership to see whether they take action on the Save America Act, which has robust bipartisan support among registered voters. David Marcus, this is a kind of an interesting one. David Marcus writes, "The most important thing to know about this week's primary results in Texas is that nearly 60% of Republican voters told sitting Senator John Cornyn that they do not want him returning to Washington, and it will take more than an endorsement from President Trump to change that. On Thursday, Cornyn's opponent, Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton, made an interesting offer to avoid an ugly and costly runoff election in May. Put simply, if the Senate approves the Save America Act, requiring voter ID and proof of citizenship to vote in federal elections, then Paxton will drop out. It is an elegant solution that's been suggested by some commentators, including David Marcus. Once it became clear that neither Cornyn nor Paxton had cleared the 50% hurdle to avoid a runoff, and it would save Trump from having to swoop in and make an endorsement. The president said Friday that he would make a decision on whom to endorse fairly shortly, but added that he wants a full and complete Save America Act passed, the first time he explicitly connected the two. The offer to Senate GOP leadership, desperate to hang on to their old buddy, seems to be, quote, you pass the SAVE Act and I'll save John Cornyn. And even Paxton is on board. The solution is a perfect one, specifically because the Save America Act is a microcosm of everything that frustrated GOP voters hate about the Republican establishment that runs the Senate. It polls at 70 to 80% approval, and yet it can't get passed. Why did 60% of Republicans send this stinging message to Cornyn and the GOP on Tuesday? Because, for all their big talk, men like Majority Leader John Thune and his inner circle of exceedingly careful lawmakers can't get anything done, even when it's something as popular as Santa Claus. Tellingly, over the weekend, leading up to Tuesday's election in the Lone Star State, the most prominent ads on TV were not for any particular candidate, but rather a pro-Save America Act spot that broke down exactly how senators like Cornyn could vote to protect U.S. elections. I heard about the issue directly from voters, including one man from El Paso who told me, quote, if they can't pass things that 80% of us want, then what is the point of all of this? If Cornyn wants to regain the trust of the Texas GOP voters who rejected him on Tuesday, there would be no better way to start than to champion and even whip for the Save America Act. Cornyn and all of his rhinosauruses of the upper chamber need to show that they're not just going to sit around doing nothing for another 6 years. The Save America Act is actually so popular that it could potentially get the vote of at least one Democrat. Pennsylvania Senator John Fetterman said on Thursday, when asked if he could support using the standing filibuster to pass the bill with a simple majority, he said, GOP is greedy on it. Make it simple. Legit ID to vote for any federal election. He went on to suggest Wisconsin law as a model and said if that did happen, I could support it. In fact, Fetterman argues such changes would flip the narrative into the Democrats' lap, forcing them to tell 80% of Americans their position is outlandish or Jim Crow. The point here is that there's something as popular as voter ID. There's simply no excuse for not getting it in, or some version of it across the finish line. It's hard to describe how demoralizing it is for GOP voters, especially in deep red states, when controlling the Senate feels meaningless. Since Tuesday's lackluster results, in which Cornyn, to be fair, did better than many expected him to, his campaign has been in full attack mode against Paxton, making an argument that only Cornyn is electable. It's not enough. Excuse me. When 60% of your own party voters want to send you packing, you have to listen to them and find out why. It's not sufficient for Cornyn to simply cross his arms and say it's me or James Tellerico. Sometimes in life, a rebuke can be a good thing in the long run, a wake-up call, and Cornyn certainly got one last week. If Cornyn wants to keep his seat, he needs to grab the bull by the long horns and get something done. Show the voters he isn't just along for the ride, and there could be no better accomplishment than to help secure our nation's elections. It is time for Cornyn to lead, to earn his seat, not to fall backwards It's time for Cornyn to lead, to earn his seat, not to fall backwards into it with a Trump endorsement. Passing the Save America Act is the best and most important way he could do it. There you go. I thought you would appreciate that. All right, we're going to talk about the attack on Gracie Mansion when we return. Stay with us. This is Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV, Big Fox.
Accidents happen. If you're looking for an honest, dependable, trustworthy auto repair shop, bring it to Nappy's. Or if it's undrivable, have it towed right to us. It's your choice where to take your vehicle. Nappy's works with all insurance companies and will manage all vehicle calibrations. Nappy's has a state-of-the-art paint booth and a new and improved repair shop. Let our friendly staff of specialists help you through the process and get it done right the first time. Commit to Nappy's, family-owned for 3 generations.
Thank you for your business.
Nearly 5 kilos of cocaine has been seized in a bust.
Thousands lined the pier at Seneca Harbor. Race weekend brought thousands to Watkins Glen International.
Hundreds and horseheads joined other cities around the country on Saturday for the No Kings protest.
Tired of cold weather? Sunny days are closer than you think. Get ready now for fun later with a boat, camper, or RV loan from Servview Credit Union at just 5.99% APR for up to 10 years. Adventure is waiting. Apply today.
It's a new day. A day to do the work for those who need us most. At Feed the Children, we provide hungry kids with the food and essentials they need to grow and thrive in the U.S. and around the world. you can join us and nourish empty stomachs to build brighter futures. Today is a new day, and together we can create a world where no child goes to bed hungry.
Good morning, I'm meteorologist Brandon Weathers. We can enjoy a warm and sunny Monday. Southwest wind around 10 miles per hour pushes the temperature in towards 67 degrees, about 25 degrees above our daily average high. In fact, average of low 40s will stay about that mild overnight lows, even with clear skies. Then back in the 70s on Tuesday. We should see a wet stretch Tuesday night through Wednesday.
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam, brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio. A couple comments from viewers. Jack writes in, a vote against the Save America Act is a vote for voter fraud. Thank you very much. Mark says, I agree with the person who wrote in last week on your show. Set the clocks a half an hour ahead and leave it there all year. No change. I would agree with you. I am not a big fan of the time change, but here we are. Okay, a pair of ISIS-trained extremists were charged with hurling an IED at Gracie Mansion during a rowdy weekend protest, allegedly packing the homemade bomb with what is called the, quote, mother of Satan, a volatile explosive favored by international terrorists. The two pro-Muslim fanatics, Ibrahim Kayumi, 19, and Amir Balat, 18, both self-radicalized in recent years and traveled to Turkey and other terror-related or terror training hotspots, law enforcement said to the New York Post. Balat spent more than 3 years in Istanbul last year, while Ibrahim flew to Istanbul and Saudi Arabia in 2024 and made a trip to Melbourne, Australia in 2019. The pair admitted to cops after getting busted at the violent demonstration outside the mayor's residence on Saturday afternoon that they also watched ISIS videos and tossed the bomb at right-wing agitators because they felt the agitators insulted their religion. The homemade device consisted of a sports drink bottle filled with TATP, a substance favored by terrorists and known as the mother of Satan, which is so volatile that it typically doesn't require a fuse to go off. The dangerous substance can be cobbled together using household ingredients readily available at home improvement stores and pharmacies, making it cheap to produce. It's designed to maim and kill, one source said. This is just luck that no one is dead. The same type of bomb was used in high-profile terror attacks in France, the UK, Belgium, and New Delhi over more than a decade, often with fatal consequences. Fortunately, it failed to go off during the Saturday afternoon clash between demonstrators backing right-wing activist Jake Lang and pro-Muslim counter-protesters. The incident unfolded during a planned anti-Muslim protest organized by Jake Lang outside of Gracie Mansion, which sparked a rowdy confrontation with counter-protesters that quickly turned violent. Video footage shows several scuffles that led to 6 arrests, including the 2 accused wannabe bombers. One of Lang's crew, a protester named Ian McGuinness, was accused of pepper spraying counter-protesters and slapped with charges of assault, reckless endangerment, and unlawful possession of noxious matters. The explosive device, a sports drink bottle filled with that TATP and wrapped in construction tape, was hurled at Lang's crew during one of the encounters. Police secured the device and ended the threat. On Sunday, NYPD Commissioner Jessica Tisch dismissed early reports that the device was not dangerous and said it would have killed or maimed anyone near it had it explode. The NYPD bomb squad has conducted a preliminary analysis of a device that was ignited at a protest yesterday and has determined that it's not a hoax device or a smoke bomb. It is, in fact, an improvised explosive device that could have caused serious injury or death. I want to again thank the brave members of the NYPD who ran towards danger without hesitation and quickly apprehended the suspect. Meanwhile, Mayor Zohran Mamdani denounced white supremacist Lang in another statement Sunday. Mamdani said hate has no place in New York City, but failed to mention the alleged bomb hurlers who were part of the pro-Muslim crowd of counter-protesters. The mayor said what followed was even more disturbing. Violence at a protest is never acceptable. The attempt to use an explosive device and hurt others is not only criminal, it is reprehensible and the antithesis of who we are. The NYPD and the FBI are now working the case, with search warrants being executed at the Pennsylvania homes of Kayumi and Blah on Sunday. Meanwhile, the NYPD bomb squad was back on the scene on Sunday afternoon after a bottle wrapped in tape was spotted inside the Hyundai linked to one of the suspects. The vehicle was cleared without further incidents. So that's what we know. CNN said, oh, got a wave coming in. CNN said an anti-Islam protest organized by Jake Lang drew roughly 20 participants, while a counter-protest called Drive the Nazis Out of New York peaked at about 125 people. Tensions between the two groups, who were separated into designated protest areas, escalated shortly before noon. At around 12:15, a protester associated with Lang's group pepper sprayed counter-protesters. 20 minutes later, a counter-protester threw an ignited device toward the protest area, which landed on the crosswalk. Videos showing the moment the device was thrown, with protesters and police officers scrambling to get away from where it landed. Witnesses reported seeing flames and smoke as it traveled through the air before it struck a barrier and extinguished itself a few feet from police officers. The man then retrieved a second device from another man before lighting it and starting to run. He dropped the second device on the street where it appeared to emit smoke but did not explode. Officers secured the area, taking both men, an 18-year-old and a 19-year-old, into custody. A preliminary analysis from the NYPD bomb squad determined both devices recovered Saturday were slightly smaller than a football and appeared to be jars wrapped in black tape containing bolts, screws, and a hobby fuse. The device thrown into the crosswalk appears to have been made with that TATP that I mentioned, an extraordinarily powerful and unstable explosive that's easy to obtain, according to multiple law enforcement officials. Now, the two men arrested in connection with the explosive device remain in custody. The FBI stated that they were joined by the New York Joint Terrorism Task Force in investigating, along with the NYPD and the U.S. Attorney's Office for the Southern District of New York. The devices are being investigated as possible acts of terrorism. A large law enforcement presence was seen around one of the arrested teenagers, homes in Bucks County, Pennsylvania. This is the FBI. Everybody come out, authorities were heard saying over a megaphone. Now, Manhattan Borough President Brad Holman Siegel, who we've mentioned him before, he's pretty radical. He's had some pretty outlandish quotes in the past. He was roasted yesterday after he blamed the wrong protesters for hurling the explosive device. Holman Siegel issued a statement claiming in part that white Christian nationalists led a roaming trail of Islamophobia and anti-Semitism today on Manhattan's Upper East Side at Gracie Mansion, where they targeted our mayor with an incendiary device. The borough president took down the statement before it was publicly revealed Sunday that two pro-Muslim demonstrators were arrested in the incident. Federal authorities are now working with the NYPD, as I mentioned. So what his tweet was, this is double-barreled hatred in New York City. White Christian nationalists led a roaming trail of Islamophobia and anti-Semitism today on Manhattan's Upper East Side at Gracie Mansion, where they targeted our mayor with an incendiary device and brandished a dead goat in something at a Coaster restaurant, where a mob gathered outside the cafe and dumped a dead pig from a truck adorned with a Confederate flag. It is clear that both Jews and Muslims are being threatened by the rise of the white supremacism in our country. We must do everything we can to ensure New York is a place where all people can feel safe. It's very sad. Brooklyn Assemblyman Dov Hinkins said, "What's happened to the Democrats? They're blind to the point that facts don't matter anymore. The damage is done. They jumped to conclusions." So he ended up, Holman Siegel said he revised the statement. "My comments evolved as I learned more. It was an evolving statement. I amended it." That's how that works. Evolving statement. That's interesting. So, of course, the knee-jerk was to blame, I guess, the wrong group. He defended his statement that Lang and far-right Christians led a protest against Mamdani. Still, the Manhattan Bureau president said authorities should throw the book at the alleged bomb throwers. "I am not making any excuses for bomb throwers. People who hurled incendiary devices are just idiots. They are domestic terrorists." Congressional candidate and former city comptroller Brad Lander said happy to know that our mayor and first lady are safe, but horrified that there is such a disturbing threat of violence outside their residence. Vile displays of Islamophobia will never be tolerated in our city. Lander walked back his comments, blaming the violence on Islamophobes. The explosive yesterday near Gracie Mansion were not thrown by the Islamophobic protesters, but their counter-protesters. Violence is utterly unacceptable, whatever it comes from. I'm glad the individuals responsible are in custody and they should be held accountable under the law. He thanked NYPD for managing a dangerous situation and then added, I'm sorry for jumping to conclusions and posting too soon, but I'm not sorry for hating Islamophobia as much as I hate anti-Semitism. The Democratic operative quipped of the knee-jerk reaction from the pandering polls, better to remain silent and be thought a fool than to speak and remove all doubts. State Senator Liz Krueger, who reps the Upper East Side neighborhood that includes Gracie Mansion, said, New York is no place for anti-Muslim hate or any kind of prejudice. We don't need out-of-state provocateurs sowing fear, division, and violence in our city. Now, I'm running late. We'll talk a little bit more about this. Stay with us. Keep those comments, keep those waves coming in. Boy, you can tell this show's going fast already. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Hi, this is Tom Witzel, owner of Hesselson's in Amara Heights. At Hesselson's, we care about your well-being and overall health, whether it's relieving stress, muscle recovery, increasing circulation, or just revitalizing the body. Hesselson's now has 2 complete line of infrared and traditional rock saunas in our new and expanded showroom. Come in today and see why owning a sauna is the start of your new healthy lifestyle. Hesselson's is still locally and family-owned and operated in Amara Heights. After 70 years, it's still fun to poke in the corners at Hesselson's.
Yeah, hello. I'm really not sure if this is what you all do, but I really don't have anywhere else to turn.
Hi. I don't even know why I'm calling right now. I'm sorry. My thoughts are going a mile a minute.
My kids are out of state. My buddies from the Army are all gone now. I'm really alone.
I left the service last year. My mom just passed away a few months ago. I miss so much time with her. I keep getting calls about the bills, and I'm trying to get a job, but I feel so stuck.
Okay, ma'am. I'm glad you called.
Okay, sir. Let's stay on the line and walk through some things.
Thanks.
Okay.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Good morning, I'm meteorologist Brandon Weathers. We can enjoy a warm and sunny Monday. Southwest wind around 10 miles per hour pushes the temperature in towards 67 degrees, about 25 degrees above our daily average high. In fact, average of low 40s will stay about that more mild overnight lows, even with clear skies. Then back in the 70s on Tuesday. We should see a wet stretch Tuesday night through Wednesday. Snow could.
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam, brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back broadcasting live from the Hesselson's studio. Some waves and some comments coming in. Let's read a comment from Ken, who writes in, this is the same way I feel. Every time the Republicans get in control of the House and Senate, they don't stick together on issues that a vast number of Republicans want. With very few exceptions, the Democrats stick together on every issue. We know the reason. The Democrat leadership makes it known that if you don't fall in line or you will be primaried. But when Trump tries to use the same tactic on Republicans, he is painted in a bad light, even by other Republicans. That's a great point. Oh, he just wants loyalty. The Dems get away with their tactics because the Republicans always take a knife to a gunfight. I would agree, Ken. Thank you for that. Now, Miranda Devine says that Mayor Zohran Mamdani showed his true colors as ISIS sympathizers attacked New York City with bombs. Mayor Zohran Mamdani showed his true colors on the weekend when he responded to the attempted ISIS-inspired bombing of an anti-Muslim protest by first condemning white supremacy before getting around to saying violence at a protest is never acceptable. That's one way of putting it. It took NYPD Commissioner Jessica Tisch to issue her own statement for the full gravity of the attack to be officially acknowledged. This is what happened on Saturday. 2 suspected ISIS sympathizers threw handmade bombs into a group of police and anti-Muslim protesters outside Gracie Mansion, one while yelling Allahu Akbar. Luckily, the improvised explosive device malfunctioned before they could kill and maim people nearby. Tish said the bomb squad has examined one of the devices, which is not a hoax device or a smoke bomb. It is, in fact, an improvised explosive device that could have caused serious injury or death. Mamdani made no mention of the suspect's ideology while railing against the white supremacist protests rooted in bigotry and racism. Such hate has no place in New York City. It is an affront to our city's values and the unity that defines who we are. Drawing a moral equivalence between Lang's hate speech and literal Islamist bomb throwers is not who we are either. It's only the radical left who believes speech is violence, but violence is something to tolerate for the right cause. Now, the New York Post editorial board says Mayor Mamdani can't just condemn violence at a protest. Now that the key facts are out about Sunday's chaos, he needs to call out where the threats of violence came from and denounce them. We now know those were genuine explosive devices hurled by ISIS-loving radicals, New Yorkers seduced by evil within Gotham's own Muslim community. The mayor should name the poison plaguing his co-religionists and the madness among his Democrat socialist allies that mourn the killing of a monster like Ayatollah al-Khamenei. It's easy to slam low-rent hate exhibitionists like Jake Lang, the agitator whose protests the bomb throwers attacked, but also beside the point that counter-protesters outnumbered his tiny crowd by 6-1 shows what a sideshow Lang's ilk will always be. What could truly make a difference is calling out the people who seem to be on your side, but aren't. The ones who claim that Islamic values support attacks on innocents, who deny the mass rapes and other crimes of supposed freedom fighters, who pretend that the anti-imperialist cause requires sympathy for terror-promoting tyrants. Mamdani would also be wise to express his concerns for the communities who feel most at risk from this violence, and come out in support of Speaker Julie Menon's package of bills to fight anti-Semitism and protect the rights to worship of all New Yorkers. Side with the vast sane center of New York City, Mr. Mayor. Make it plain you recognize toxic hate on every extreme. All right, there we go. Now we're going to talk about Iran. Keep your comments coming in. As I said, we're going to hear about the upcoming musical at the Clemens Center, Book of Mormon. That's in the 7 o'clock hour. Tomorrow, we're going to talk with Elmira Express Jr. They've got an upcoming performance called the Addams Family Musical. They'll be joining us on tomorrow's show. And then on Wednesday, Chilmartin County Executive Chris Moss. Whew. Yeah, we've got a busy week in store for you. So that's just the beginning. I've got a couple other that I'm working on, and I'll let you know when they are set in stone. Okay. Well, it seems like I had a couple of charity events to bring up, but maybe not. So we'll skip ahead on that. Let me see here. Yep. If you missed our interview with Assemblyman Phil Palmisano on Friday, you can find that on WYDC TV or .com, or you can go to our YouTube page. Phil gave us about an hour sit-down interview. First time since becoming the ranking minority member on the Ways and Means Committee. So it was nice to catch up with Assemblyman Phil Palmisano. So if you missed that, that is on our YouTube page. On a very sad note, a U.S. service member wounded in an Iranian attack against U.S. troops in Saudi Arabia has succumbed to their injuries. The 7th American soldier to have died during Operation Epic Fury. The unidentified soldier was seriously wounded in the March 1st attack as Iran launched missiles and drones at U.S. installations across the Middle East at the start of the conflict. Last night, a U.S. service member passed away from injuries received during the Iranian regime's initial attacks across the Middle East, said CENTCOM. The service member was seriously wounded at the scene of an attack on U.S. troops in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia on March the 1st. CENTCOM said it's withholding releasing the identity of the slain service member for 24 hours, pending next of kin notification. The news comes a day after NYPD officer and decorated Army veteran Sorfli Davis died during a health crisis while deployed in Kuwait with the National Guard. On Saturday, President Trump flew to Dover Air Force Base in Delaware, where the bodies of 6 Army Reserve members were flown in after they died when an Iranian drone struck a U.S. facility in Kuwait. The president, wearing a white USA baseball cap as he stood next to the First Lady Melania Trump for the somber moment, saluted as soldiers carried the flag-draped caskets containing the remains of the fallen heroes. It's a sad part of war, the president said. It's the bad part of war. Also taking part in the solemn event were Vice President J.D. Vance, Second Lady Usha Vance, Special Envoy to the Middle East Steve Witkoff, White House Chief of Staff Susie Wiles, Attorney General Pam Bondi, and Army Secretary Dan Driscoll, among others. Some have criticized the president for wearing that hat during the somber moment. I don't know if I ended up printing that out or to read some of the tweets, but I don't think we need to go through that. We got to take a short break. Maybe you heard the corning whistle. We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking after this.
Accidents happen. If you're looking for an honest, dependable, trustworthy auto repair shop, bring it to Nappy's. Or if it's undrivable, have it towed right to us. It's your choice where to take your vehicle. Nappy's works with all insurance companies and will manage all vehicle calibrations. Nappy's has a state-of-the-art paint booth and a new and improved repair shop. Let our friendly staff of specialists help you through the process and get it done right the first time. Commit to Nappy's, family-owned for 3 generations.
Thank you for your business. In Albany, Buffalo, was born.
Nearly 500 kilos of cocaine has been seized in a bus.
Day 1 of the National Glider Competition.
I was diagnosed at 65.
37. Earlier than most.
Every 9 minutes, someone is diagnosed with Parkinson's disease.
And every one of them can turn to the American Parkinson Disease Association. Visit apdaparkinson.org to learn more and show your support today.
Tide isn't just a gentle ebb and flow. It's a mighty force of change. Just like the tide shapes our shorelines, we can shape our planet's future and protect the world's oceans from its biggest threats. Help us turn the tide. Join Oceania's wave of ocean advocates who are making a difference in the world.
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam, brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back, broadcasting live from the Hesselson's studio. So as Mark mentioned at the very beginning of the program, Mojtaba Khamenei, the son of slain Iranian leader Ayatollah al-Khamenei, has been tapped as the regime's next supreme leader. The 56-year-old new leader, who has been dismissed by President Trump as a lightweight, was chosen by the nation's elite clerical panel known as the Assembly of Experts just 8 days after the 86-year-old father was killed. His 86-year-old father was killed in the U.S.-Israeli strikes on his Tehran compound during Operation Epic Fury. Other strikes in the joint military attack also killed around 40 other high-ranking Islamic Republican leaders. Mojtaba's wife, who came from a family long associated with the country's theocracy, was also killed in the strikes, as were other family members. By a decisive vote, the Assembly of Experts appointed Ayatollah Mojtaba Hosseini Khamenei as the third leader of the sacred system of the Islamic Republic of Iran. While Mojtaba has been the favored successor of Iran's powerful Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, Trump condemned the likely appointment as unacceptable for the U.S. and vowed it would not bring an end to the war. They are wasting their time, the president told Axios. Khamenei's son is a lightweight. Khamenei's son is unacceptable to me. We want someone that will bring harmony and peace to Iran. Trump insisted nobody will take over Iran unless he's consulted first, telling ABC News on Sunday that a new leader is not going to last long without his approval. Tehran's new leader will inherit control of the feared IRGC, which has ruled the nation with an iron fist for decades, and a cache of highly enriched uranium that could be used to build a nuclear bomb. Prior to the vote, the 88-member Assembly of Experts reportedly raised issues over passing the torch to the longtime Ayatollah's son. Mojaba has been known for his staunch adherence to his father's hardline conservatism and anti-Western sentiments that hallmark the Islamic Republic. His alleged intimacy issues, as I had mentioned earlier, were also thrust into the spotlight as he moved to take his slain father's throne. He also was reportedly wounded in an Israeli airstrike and has remained in hiding as the U.S. and Israel continue to rain missiles on the Islamic Republic. It's not clear if he was with his father in the Ayatollah's compound that was decimated by airstrikes or if he was targeted in a separate attack on the regime. The details and extent of his injuries are also unclear. Now, Trump was blasting Britain over the weekend. He roasted Britain as a once great ally as he continued to express displeasure with the left-wing Labour government in London. After severely damaging the so-called special relationship between the UK and the United States, while being shown up by France in terms of swift military deployments, Prime Minister Starmer's government is said to be preparing to demonstrate a show of force, with reports on Saturday indicating that he is preparing to send aircraft carrier HMS Prince of Wales for possible deployment to the Middle East. However, this apparently failed to impress President Trump, who openly mocked Starmer for his Johnny-come-lately stance to the conflict, saying the United Kingdom, our once great ally, maybe the greatest of them all, is finally giving serious thought to sending 2 aircraft carriers to the Middle East. That's okay, Prime Minister Starmer. We don't need them any longer, but we will remember. We don't need people that join wars after we've already won. Former Prime Minister Liz Truss agreed with Trump's assessment, calling the comments justified and damning, while Starmer later backtracked on his initial opposition to granting the U.S. access to British military bases. Although still limited to defensive actions, it has done little to repair his relationship with Trump. Earlier in the week, speaking to London's Daily Telegraph, President Trump said that he was very disappointed with Starmer over the move, which he noted may have been the first time in the history of UK-U.S. relations that a prime minister refused a military request from Washington. He noted that Starmer, a former human rights lawyer, made the decision because he was worried about the legality. The president suggested that the niceties of international law should not outweigh the duty to British citizens, many of whom have been blown up by terrorists backed by Iran. He also said he's not Winston Churchill. But no thanks. The United Kingdom, our once great ally, maybe the greatest of them all, is finally giving serious thought to sending 2 aircraft carriers to the Middle East. That's okay, Prime Minister Starmer. We don't need them any longer, but we will remember. We don't need people that join wars after we've already won. President Donald J. Trump. Now, his post came shortly after the BBC reported that the Prince of Wales was placed on advanced readiness and could be deployed in a matter of days. I'm running late. A little bit more on this. Stay with us. We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking, getting ready to wrap up our number 1 after this.
To the me I used to be, before talking to 988.
I felt alone.
I thought seeing hard things was just part of the job. I thought that having a bad day at work meant I was failing. But then I connected with someone at 988.
A real person texted back. Someone listened without judgment.
Now I know. Now I know it's okay to let someone help me too.
And I'm stronger than I thought.
We hear you. Call, text, or chat 988.
We are the keepers of the wild. America's original and most invested conservationists. For more than 80 years, we've been committed to conserving wildlife and the natural landscapes that define our nation. From rugged alpine ridgelines to peaceful tall grass prairies, we've supported the conservation of more than 36 million acres of American wildlands. Our funding has led to cleaner water, fresher air, and improved wildlife habitat. From abundant fish and waterfowl populations to robust deer and elk herds, nothing is more important than maintaining wild spaces for adventurers to explore and wildlife to thrive. We are America's hunters and target shooters, stewards of the American outdoors.
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam, brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back, broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio. Former British Prime Minister Sir Tony Blair went after Starmer for having damaged the UK's special relationship with the United States. Speaking at a Jewish news event over the weekend, Tony Blair said that he believed it was a grave error for Prime Minister Starmer to have initially blocked the United States military from using British bases to launch operations in Iran last weekend. While Starmer ultimately U-turned and allowed the U.S. to use UK bases, albeit only for defensive purposes, amid the Iran conflict, serious damage was done to the relationship with President Trump, who has publicly chastised the British leader on several occasions since. Addressing the breakdown, Tony Blair said, "I am not saying anything that I haven't already said to the government. I think we should have backed America from the very beginning. We have got to be very clear about this as a country. We're depending on the American alliance for our country. They are not just an ally, they are an indispensable ally, right? Every single time you test an alliance, you never test it when things are easy. You test it when it's hard. They're asking to use our bases to refuel. It's not like it was Vietnam. Not like the Iraq campaign, where we had thousands of British troops. The American relationship matters, and matters particularly today. It's not a question of whether it's this president or that president. If they are your ally and they are an indispensable cornerstone for your security, you had better show up." Sir Tony rejected the anti-war pressure from backbench MPs would have forced Prime Minister Starmer's hand, saying, "People always complain. The problem for a leader is when you decide, you divide. Of course it's difficult. In the end, most of the MPs will know that going into the election is going to be decided on different things. On foreign policy, I think people would just prefer you to be strong and out there and clear, even if they don't agree with you." All right. There you go. We got a couple other things about Iran. We've got a couple of New York State updates. We're moving along. We're covering a lot this morning. Keep those comments coming in. Keep those waves coming in. Like I said, in the 7 o'clock hour, we're going to hear from one of the cast members of the Book of Mormon, which is coming to the Clemens Center. That is on March 18th and 19th. So we'll be hearing with a member of the Book of Mormon cast from the Clemens Center. On tomorrow's program, we'll be talking with Elmira Express Jr., the cast members from Addams Family, the musical. A lot of plays going on. And then on Wednesday, we'll be talking with Chemung County Executive Chris Moss. A comment from a viewer before we go. "Can't wait to see buds on those trees." I know we've had a couple nice days and you start to think it's spring, but it is only March 9th. We probably have a lot of winter type of weather around the corner, but we'll have your full weather forecast later on in the broadcast. But yes, I can't wait to see them either. It was nice to get out yesterday. If you took out your petitions, good for you. A lot of people knocking on doors, getting the signatures that are needed. I know there's a push on right now. I mean, you look at some of the numbers that people need, it's really difficult. For instance, in Steuben, the coroner needs to get 1,000 signatures. So if you were out, good for you. As we've always said, Joe and I talked about it last time he was on the program, Joe Sobolinski, that you will be a hero to your elected leaders if you take out their petition. All right, we got to take a break. It's hard to believe. Hour number 1 is through. Hour number 2, mere moments away. Stay with us.
What better way to start or end every day than relaxing in your very own Hesselson's hot tub? Massage therapy, relaxation, stress reliever, pain management, soothing muscles, or just spending time with a loved one. Hot water therapy really does make every day better. Hesselson's has been a part of this great community for over 70 years, still being locally owned and operated. So make the drive to Hesselson's and start making your path to a better life today. And after 70 years, it's still fun to poke in the corners at Hesselson's.
At William R., they only handle motor vehicle accident cases.
No, I'm not going to take any low-ball offers.
There's nothing William loves more than fighting for his clients and giving them the big money they deserve.
Okay, wow.
But everyone needs an outlet, a chance to get away from it all.
Heads bowed, eyes closed, and now go to your happy place.
Rideshare truck, motorcycle, car, only call William Matar.
Morning, I'm meteorologist Brandon In weathers, we can enjoy a warm and sunny Monday. Southwest wind around 10 miles per hour pushes the temperature in towards 67 degrees, about 25 degrees above our daily average high. In fact, average of low 40s will stay about that more mild overnight lows, even with clear skies. Then back in the 70s on Tuesday. We should see a wet stretch Tuesday night through Wednesday. Snow could
And we welcome you to hour number 2 of Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV Big Fox. I'm your host, Frank Acom. We are broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio here on Market Street in Corning. So glad that you've joined us this morning. Coming up in just a little bit, we're going to hear from a member of the Book of Mormon coming to the Clemens Center later, next week. Okay, we were talking about Iran before we went to break. Keep those waves, keep those comments coming in. War Secretary Pete Hegseth vowed he and President Trump will do whatever it takes to topple the Iranian regime and didn't rule out sending U.S. ground troops into Tehran. This was on CBS News' 60 Minutes. He said, "We're willing to go as far as we need in order to be successful. We reserve the right. We would be completely unwise if we did not reserve the right to take any particular option, whether it include boots on the ground or not boots on the ground." Trump told the Post last week that U.S. forces could be sent into Iran if it's deemed necessary. Well, Pete Hegseth told Major Garrett, "If a decision is made to deploy American troops, whether overtly or covertly, to the Middle East, it'd be shared publicly with the press. People ask, boots on the ground, no boots on the ground, 4 weeks, 2 weeks, 6 weeks? Go in, go in." President Trump knows, I know, you don't tell the enemy, you don't tell the press, you don't tell anybody when your limits would be on an operation. He echoed the president, also admitted casualties will surely mount as the conflict continues. 7 U.S. service members were killed in Iranian retaliatory drone strikes, 6 Army reservists in Kuwait, and another who later died from wounds in Saudi Arabia. The president's been right to say there will be casualties, the secretary said. Things like this don't happen without casualties. There will be more casualties, especially our generations know that what it's like to see Americans come home in caskets. But that doesn't weaken us one bit. It stiffens our spine and our resolve to say this is a fight we will finish. Now the UN ambassador, Michael Waltz said that Iran had been at war with the United States for many years. This was on NBC's Meet the Press yesterday, saying, I could tell you as a veteran, it breaks my heart in so many ways that we have to deal with this threat across the Middle East for 47 years. And I want to be clear, the Iranian regime started this war in 1979 under Jimmy Carter. And thank God for President Trump. He is taking the old, decisive action. I think that's bold. He is taking the bold, decisive action that so many of his predecessors have failed to do, to end it, and to end this threat to the American people and our allies once and for all. He said, "I describe it as Iran has been at war with us, as I just said. President Trump is ending it. I will leave it to the lawyers and those who deal with Congress in terms of the War Powers Act, which every administration has viewed as unconstitutional. That said, Secretary Rubio has been there day after day and week after week in recent months to appropriately brief congressional leaders. But I'll tell you, who does believe that they are being attacked? It is the soldiers that have been buried for many, many years as a result of Iranian attacks and the proxy attacks." Now, they're trying to present this idea that there's intel, and the Washington Post went with this, some other outlets, that there's intel report that warns a large-scale war is unlikely to oust Iran's regime. This reported by the Washington Post. A classified report by the National Intelligence Council found that even a large-scale assault on Iran launched by the United States would be unlikely to oust the Islamic Republic's entrenched military and clerical establishment. A sobering assessment as the Trump administration raises the specter of an extended military campaign that officials say has only just begun. The findings, confirmed to the Washington Post by 3 people familiar with the report's content, raised doubt about President Donald Trump's declared plan to clean out Iran's leadership structure and install a ruler of his choosing. The report, completed about a week before the United States and Israel initiated the war on February 28th, outlines secession scenarios stemming from either a narrowly tailored campaign against Iran's leaders or a broader assault against its leadership and government institutions, the people familiar with the findings have said. So, leaked report warns Trump's Iran war faces a disaster. Typical media here. It should come as no surprise. Hakeem Jeffries over the weekend on Meet the Press said that President Donald Trump has changed the strategic objectives in Iran every day. Certainly as it relates to the Ayatollah, he was a bad actor. And I'm not going to shed any tears as a result of his departure. I think the big question is, why did we get into this war? What are our strategic objectives? Because they shift every day. And what is the plan to get out of this conflict? The American people don't want to see billions of dollars being spent to bomb Iran in the Middle East. While at the same period of time, my Republican colleagues, I got cut off, darn it. We don't want an endless war in the Middle East. Well, we're spending billions and billions of dollars to drop bombs and do nothing to drop the high cost of living. Senator Mark Warner, a Democrat from Virginia, was on Fox News Sunday saying Americans are paying $122 million a day extra in gas coming right out of their pockets. That, combined with the declining job numbers, that combined with the stock market crashing, going into war without, I don't feel like, the appropriate preparation or having made the case to the American public, I think we've got a lot of explaining to do. We don't know how long Iran will last. The notion, and I heard the general earlier, I think we are retiring some of their forces, but we still don't know whether those ballistic missiles are being totally eliminated or they're just being hidden. And my fear is that we are running down on the munitions that intercept the missiles. I really do feel like we've got America's interest. What we've got dead service members, that we've not made that case, that the president has not made the case, that this is an imminent threat. And we don't know where this is going to end up. I think a war of choice. I think he chose the wrong time. And frankly, one of the things I would point out, the president said the Iranian people need to rise up. What happens if 200,000 Iranians protest in Tehran and the Iran Revolutionary Guard then massacres 20, 30, 40,000 of them? Will we have an obligation to put troops on the ground? Well, it didn't seem to be a problem when they were, what were the numbers, 30 to 35,000 of their own people were massacred. We did not see Mr. Warner and others speaking out on that. Tim Kaine, former vice presidential candidate and a senator from Virginia, was on CBS's Face the Nation. He said, we don't know what the White House is sending a supplemental. Well, is sending a supplemental. So we had a classified briefing the other day and the topic came up. What I can say is it's not classified, is the administration said they haven't made a decision. My goals right now are twofold. Stop the war, which I view as both illegal and profoundly unwise, and protect our troops. If a supplemental comes over, I'm going to be looking to see, okay, how does it square with those goals? Protecting the troops is key. That's one of the reasons I want to stop the war. I think they're just exposed to a completely unnecessary risk by President Trump and what he has done. So we'll look at the supplemental if they send one to see, okay, how does it accomplish those goals? I think that's the issue. You traditionally don't ask for a supplemental halfway through because you might ask for an inadequate amount. I think they may not want to ask for a supplemental because they're trying to avoid debates and votes in Congress on the Iran war right now. I put up a war powers vote that I lost earlier this week, but I can assure you I'm not going away. We have other means to have a debate and discussion about whether this war is within the U.S.'s best interest after 25 years of war in the Middle East. They may want to avoid a vote on that and are trying to delay it for that reason. They'll make that call, and we have to look at the content. Senator Chris Murphy out of Connecticut, Democrat out of Connecticut, was on CNN's State of the Union. Jake Tapper asked, so as I just referenced this morning on Axios, two very well-sourced reporters in the administration are reporting that the U.S. is weighing. They have not made a decision, but are weighing sending in special forces to specifically seize Iran's enriched uranium. You heard Senator Tillis say that that might necessitate congressional authorization for use of force. What's your reaction? So Senator Chris Murphy said, this is already a war that is becoming an ongoing disaster. It gets worse if the president is talking about putting ground forces in. You're talking at this point about dozens, if not hundreds, of new American casualties. I think this administration just fails to understand how to achieve any of their objectives. So their objective shifts by the minute. Sometimes we're pursuing regime change, sometimes we're not. They have been consistent about trying to eliminate Iran's nuclear program, but what they fail to understand is that you can't bomb knowledge out of existence, even if you were to do something wildly dangerous, like putting American ground forces in to try to extract some of the enriched uranium. There's still going to be the knowledge inside Iran, so that if you don't actually succeed in putting a new leader inside the country, they'll just be able to rebuild that capacity as soon as Americans' forces are gone. So this is $1 billion waste of money every single day. We are pursuing objectives that the administration can't actually explain, including using military force to try to destroy the knowledge that already exists inside Iran to build a nuclear weapon. So, wow. Already lost it is the way it sounds like if you listen to Mr. Senator Chris Murphy. We got a couple other things on this. I know I can't run too late because we've got our guests coming up in just a little bit. Stay with us. Keep those waves. Keep those comments coming in, and we will be right back with Frankly Speaking here at WYDC TV. Big Fox.
Accidents happen. If you're looking for an honest, dependable, trustworthy auto repair shop, bring it to Nappy's. Or if it's undrivable, have it towed right to us. It's your choice where to take your vehicle. Nappy's works with all insurance companies and will manage all vehicle calibrations. Nappy's has a state-of-the-art paint booth and a new and improved repair shop. Let our friendly staff of specialists help you through the process and get it done right the first time. Commit to Nappy's, family-owned for 3 generations.
Thank you for your business.
Small businesses are the heart of America. Like you, these entrepreneurs started out with a dream and the drive to build a better life. If you have a small business idea to grow or challenge to face, you don't have to go it alone. Since 1964, SCORE has helped millions of entrepreneurs build their businesses. Today, they are the nation's largest nonprofit source of expert mentoring, resources, and education. Whether you're starting out, building back, or have worked at it for years, SCORE will match you with specialized mentors. Our thousands of volunteers provide the guidance and connections you need for free. Your success is waiting. SCORE is ready to help. Find a mentor today at SCORE.org.
Good morning, I'm meteorologist Brandon Weathers. We can enjoy a warm and sunny Monday. Southwest wind around 10 miles per hour pushes the temperature in towards 67 degrees, about 25 degrees above our daily average high. In fact, average of low 40s will stay about that more mild overnight lows, even with clear skies. Then back in the 70s on Tuesday. We should see a wet stretch Tuesday night through Wednesday. Snow could
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio here on Market Street in Corning. As Miranda Devine said, as Operation Epic Fury rages, the Iranian regime's long-standing plot to kill President Trump was confirmed. The reality of the Iran war was brought home Friday in a Brooklyn courthouse when a jury convicted Asif Merchant for plotting with the Iranian government to assassinate President Trump and other American politicians. After a week-long trial that was barely noticed as Operation Epic Fury dominated headlines, the Pakistani garment trader was found guilty of terrorism and murder for hire. Prosecutors said Merchant was a trained operative of the Iranian government's global terrorism force, the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, who received training in tradecraft, including counter-surveillance, and repeatedly traveled to Iran to meet with the IRGC handler. He was sent to the U.S. in April 2024 to sow mayhem and murder and tried to recruit mafia members to steal documents, stage a protest, and arrange the murder of politicians including Trump, then President Joe Biden, and presidential candidate Nikki Haley, but law enforcement foiled the plot. This was not the first attempt by Iran to harm our citizens on U.S. soil, said Kash Patel. The other efforts also failed. Patel likely was referring to Iranian plots to assassinate former Trump officials like John Bolton and Mike Pompeo and kidnap or harm Iranian-American dissidents. But Merchant also claimed during the trial that the Iranians were also behind the still mysterious assassination attempt on Trump by 20-year-old Thomas Crooks in Butler, Pennsylvania. Merchant was arrested on July 12, 2024, a day before Crooks opened fire at Trump's rally, grazing Trump's right ear, as you know, or his ear, I should say. He told jurors the IRGC told him to attend a Republican rally as part of his mission, and FBI agent Jacqueline Smith testified that he told her the Butler attack was the same thing he was sent here to do. The FBI refused to comment directly on the Merchant trial Saturday, but pointed to a Justice Department press release and previous statements made by Patel and former Deputy Director Dan Bongino that Crooks acted alone with no foreign connections to the case. Bongino told Fox News Digital last year, "We should have cracked the biggest investigation in human history, a foreign-directed plot. We would have. Why would we withhold that? But we can only follow the facts, and they are just not there." But how 20-year-old loner, described by neighbors as a normal, dorky kid who lived with his normal, nice family in a quiet Pittsburgh suburb, would become so radicalized by the internet that he set out to assassinate Trump is a mystery that needs further exploration. Trump told the Post in November he still wasn't satisfied with what he had been told about Crooks' motivation. Last month, J.D. Vance told reporters that he remains mystified despite ongoing discussions with the FBI and other law enforcement agencies. "I have not gotten a satisfactory answer to how Thomas Crooks went from radically pro-Trump to so radically anti-Trump. Maybe we will never know the answer to that. Sometimes motivation goes unsolved." Patel and Bongino took umbrage at the New York Post claim last November that they were keeping the public in the dark and insisted in subsequent interviews that Trump was satisfied with their findings. Quote, "We fully briefed the president as a victim of this case, and the president was satisfied with the results." Yet the FBI has been reluctant to reveal all it knows about Crooks. The fact that the Bureau was forced last month to release a new cache of documents related to Crooks in response to a Freedom of Information Act lawsuit by Judicial Watch raises more questions about the secrecy of the investigation. The heavily redacted documents further confirm last year's reports about Crooks' extensive digital footprint with a couple of odd exemptions. New is the fact that Crooks was hospitalized weeks or months before the Butler shooting. Sometime between May and June of 2024, Crooks was dehydrated and needed to be taken to the hospital. An unidentified acquaintance of Crooks told the FBI. They stated that she thought it was strange that he did not take him to the hospital themselves. The FBI documents also only reference one of Crooks' two accounts on the DeviantArt website that hosts fan art and is the largest online hub for furries. Anyway, we don't have to go through all that. Okay. But it's kind of interesting inside that plot of assembling multiple kill teams to assassinate President Trump over at least the last 5 years. Mullahs in the recently decimated hardline Islamist regime have issued numerous fatwas against Trump and tried to orchestrate his death through U.S.-based hitmen. They are absolutely killers, like the mafia. They have a list of the people they want dead, and they have dispatched many of their spies to arrange to kill them. Two plots, both from 2024, were foiled, but giving a shocking insight into the lengths the regime was prepared to go before U.S. armed forces started their assault on Iran in February 28th. In one, a spy was ordered by the regime to recruit a kill team and come up with a plot to assassinate Trump while he was still on the campaign trail. He recruited two U.S.-based hitmen who were both later caught. The spy, Fared Shakari, said he was directed by his Iranian handlers to come up with a plan for the assassination of Trump on October 7, 2024. Shakari indicated, an Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps official, that it would, quote, cost a huge amount of money. In response, the official said, "We have already spent a lot of money, so the money's not an issue." The paper explained Shakiri understood to mean that the IRGC had previously spent a significant sum on efforts to murder Trump and was willing to continue spending a lot of money in its attempt to procure Trump's assassination. He was also told he only had 7 days to carry out the plot. According to his interview with the FBI, he was told that if he couldn't carry it out, his IRGC handler said it would stop the plan until after the 2024 election, as they had assessed Trump would lose the election, and afterwards it would be easier to assassinate him. Shakiri spoke to the FBI by phone from Tehran, the Iranian capital where he was based. Although born in Afghanistan, he had taken to the U.S. as a child and served 14 years in prison on various crimes before being deported. It is there he made his criminal connections, which allowed him to eventually recruit hitmen for the regime. Shakiri had already engaged two hitmen, his old prison buddy, Papa Vieira, and a man named Jonathan Lodhold. They were initially promised $100,000 to assassinate a different person, an anti-Iranian regime activist. However, they were caught before carrying out their plan. Both men were found guilty of murder for hire, with Riviera sentenced to 15 years in prison in January. Lodhold is scheduled to be sentenced next month. Shakiri is charged with murder for hire by the FBI as he remained in Iran. However, this week, U.S. and Israeli forces said that they took out the terrain-based mastermind behind assassination attempts against Trump. Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth announced a death after the deadly strikes on Tehran, not widely to be believed to be Shakiri or his boss, Rahman Mokaddam, leader of the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, a special forces unit charged with killing Trump on both of them. All right, there we go. All right. All four Iran war assumptions are dead wrong, and Trump's fooled the experts yet again, according to Victoria Coates. We'll read that when we come back. Actually, when we come back, we're going to hear about the Book of Mormon, so stay with us. This is Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV, Big Fox.
An albino baby buffalo was born.
Nearly 500 kilos of cocaine has been seized in a bus.
Day one of the National Glider Competition.
When I have an asthma attack, I feel scared. Sometimes my parents have to take me to the hospital. I feel like a fish with no water.
You know how to react to their asthma attacks. Here's how to prevent them. Because even one attack is one too many.
Today's students are tomorrow's great thinkers and innovators.
What can this ball teach us about the way things move?
But right now, millions of kids go to schools that don't have the supplies they need just because of where they live. Donors Choose is a nonprofit that lets you support students and teachers in your community and beyond. You could supply a classroom like this one with a project. But what you're really giving is the moment that sparks a brighter tomorrow. Learn more at donorschoose.org.
Allegiance from Elmira to Myrtle Beach starts May 22nd, 2026. Whether it's a weekend escape or a week in the sun, Myrtle Beach is closer than ever. Non-stop to sun, sand, and seaside days. From takeoff to toes in the sand, your coastal getaway starts right here at Elmira Corning Regional. Mornings on the boardwalk, afternoons on the golf course, and evenings with oceanfront dining or a flight away with Allegiant's new direct flight. Starts May 22nd, 2026. Book now at AllegiantAir.com.
Good morning, I'm meteorologist Brandon Weathers. We can enjoy a warm and sunny Monday. Southwest wind around 10 miles per hour pushes the temperature in towards 67 degrees, about 25 degrees above our daily average high. In fact, average of low 40s will stay about that more mild overnight lows, even with clear skies. Then back in the 70s on Tuesday. We should see a wet stretch Tuesday night through Wednesday.
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam, brought to you by Ball Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. Welcome back to Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV Big Fox. I'm your host, Frank Acom. We are broadcasting from the Hesselson's studio, and in that studio, virtually, we're talking about the Book of Mormon. Thanks so much for being on the program.
Thank you so much for having me. Thank you.
Yeah, so tell us a little bit about the role that you play in the Book of Mormon.
Yeah, so I play Mafala Hatimbi, who is the father of Nabalungi, who we meet in the story. And basically, I'm this, you could say, village leader, but I would say the more thing that I have the most fun with is definitely playing adjacent to our Nabalungi charity, who's amazing. As a performer and an actor, and as my pseudo daughter, as I get to play along on stage, and it's a really good time. So I'm kind of just an additional piece to her journey and the journey of the story.
So when you first got this role, or were trying out for this role, and you realize that you're going to become a part of what is a worldwide brand, you look at this and, they send you the information called the best music of the century by New York Times, 9 Tony Awards. Is that overwhelming? What's that feel like?
This is we were just talking about it yesterday. It actually is the 15th anniversary year of the Book of Mormon, which is a huge milestone.
Yeah.
It's one of Broadway's longest running, at this point right now, one of Broadway's longest running musicals. And funny enough, my very first time seeing the show was back in 2018 at the Fox Theater in Atlanta, where I'm from. And I was just like blown away. I was laughing. I was having a good time.
Yeah.
And I just kind of left the theater never really thinking anything about it as far as like being a part of it and whatnot. At that point, I was just starting out professionally in theater in Atlanta primarily, and started kind of doing regional theater. And so I never really like put it in mind that I would ever get to do this. And so back in 22 is when I remember seeing it on Actors Access, and I submitted for it, ended up getting an audition. And yeah, so it just kind of just became this thing. I was like, whoa, wait a minute, I'm actually going to be in this thing that I've only seen once. And now this being my second go at it in a completely different capacity and different role, it's definitely kind of dawned on me that I've been a part of something that's really, really special and enjoyable, and people are really enjoying it across the country. And so I'm bringing this across the country to those who can't make it to Broadway right now. So it's been really, really an amazing time.
And that's almost got to be surreal, almost like a bookend of getting to see it, and now you are in it and you're touring all these amazing theaters, just like you saw it in the amazing Fox Theater, the historic Fox Theater.
Yeah, no, it's something, and especially like going to different parts of the country that on my own I might not have explored. Like right now we're in San Luis Obispo right now, and so we were here a couple years ago, and I remember getting to explore, and so I'm going back to places that I either have been before or not, and getting to reintroduce myself to places that I liked, and coffee shops and eateries and things of that, and so, and also connecting with friends and family who live in these different places that I haven't seen for a while. So it's also like a coming together moment of a lot of different things and places and moments in my life. We did Duluth, Minnesota earlier, and that is actually where I shot my initial audition tape while I was working in town at one of their regional theaters. So going back, seeing friends who still live there and work there, and then getting to see the show and knowing that journey from working there in 22 to now, like being back. So it's moments like that I've really, really been grateful for, and having and sharing with various people that are connected to me.
What's it like going on the road? Because we think of touring, you sometimes think of musicians, and you've got the same kind of thing, right? You've got the cast, you've got all. So what's it like? I'm sure you didn't know all the cast before you got involved. What's it like touring with them?
It's like, it's almost like being in college a little bit. Like, you got these different people from all across the country, different ages and whatnot, different experiences, and we all kind of bring that together, and we learn from each other. We are introduced to new things. I'm nicknamed Pawpaw because I'm one of the older cast members. And so they know, hey, if I'm not at this certain place, I'm probably asleep. But it's great. I mean, our cast and crew are phenomenal. They work so hard to bring this across the country, and it's really a collaborative thing, which I think theater is always going to be about. It's not just what is happening on stage, but it's the things that are happening behind the scenes, from our musicians to our management team to our home office, and everyone, even our PR partners. Everybody collaboratively makes this thing what it is, and helps make it successfully tour across the country. So just to be a part of that and collaborate in that way, it is a really like like kind of shocking moment that, like I said, like you get to be a part of this big brand and kind of put your own energy and life into it. So it's really cool.
What was it that got you into acting originally?
Oh man, probably being a busybody kid that couldn't sit still.
Yeah.
I mean, I grew up singing. That was primarily my in. I can remember as like 4 or 5, like I started just kind of, singing, and then I'm a big cartoon, like especially like the '90s cartoons,
Sure.
Tom and Jerry, Looney Tunes, that kind of stuff. So I would mimic voices from the cartoons, and when Stitch came out, I would try to do Stitch and Goofy and Kermit and all these. And so then eventually, my church that I grew up in had its own like acting department
Oh, wow.
for various things
Yeah.
and stuff like that, and even a summer acting camp that I was a part of. I want to say from the time I was in middle school to the time I graduated high school. And I would audition even like in the community. Like I remember Lion King had come through auditions. I went to that when I was still in high school. I went to a performing arts magnet program. So like it's kind of just always been there.
Sure.
And at one point I almost didn't get into it and almost went to college for mechanical engineering. And my mom was like, yeah, he said he want to go do this thing. So, but she was very, supportive, and still is to this day. And so, yeah, but I've had people champion me and training, and, I'm trained. I always tell my students whenever I'm working with younger actors, I'm like, even when I'm not working, I'm working on something.
Sure.
It's always kind of like working out. Like you're always going to be like trying to get better in some way, whether there's a job or not a job. So, even before I hopped on to Book of Mormon again, I was working on monologues or working on new songs and collaborating with artists. And so it really is a whole 360 of being an artist. It's not just what you're doing on the stage, but it's what you're doing off the stage. And I just took time to learn, but I would say it's a lot of influential people who kind of got me here in my life that really made sure I was taken care of. I had gas money, helping me get to auditions.
Sure.
I've had people like give me buddy passes to go to New York, kind of thing.
Yeah.
So I've had a village of people really like support this journey. So it's been great.
Sounds a little different than mechanical engineering.
Much different. I still use my nerdy brain.
Yeah, just in a different way.
Various different, very different ways. But who knows? Maybe that I was jokingly talking to somebody the other day about. I was like, yeah, whenever I decide that I want to take a break, I think my second act might be culinary. Who knows?
Hey, why
I
not?
love cooking.
Yeah.
So I'm like, hey, the possibilities are endless. So.
Wow, lofty goals, all these goals. I feel kind of lazy right now.
Look, I just try to write it down as much as I can. Okay, I want to accomplish this and this and this and this, but but I try to put that dedication into as much as I can. Both, like I said, both on the stage and off the stage whenever possible.
What do you think, for us that will never have this experience, what do you think it is that you enjoy most about performing, either in the Book of Mormon or just in general, when you go out every night?
I think there was a moment a couple shows ago, and I remember I was on stage, and I have this moment where I kind of look out. I have an opportunity to look out for just a split second, and it's the moment of seeing the audience having a shared experience, laughing and enjoying, and that is community.
Yeah,
that's a huge thing to experience in real time. And I think that's what the arts are about, honestly. Like I remember growing up, I always talked about like music, no matter what language you speak, music is a universal language that we all speak. And I think in the state of how things are going in the world and everything, it seems divisive, but there are moments when none of the things that might divide us matter. And a lot of times that happens in the theater. It happens in art spaces where everyone's kind of on this same wavelength. We're on the same kind of vibration of everything. That's what I live for. So that's what makes performing. And sometimes it's in intimate spaces. Like I love doing, every once in a while, doing cabarets. Because it's very much just you, a piano, maybe a couple more musicians, and an audience.
Right.
there's no oh well, I write a script kind of whenever I'm doing it, just so I know where I'm driving things. But it's so intimate, and you get to talk about different things, and but everyone's kind of having this shared thing, and I think that's what always draws me back to performing when it's an opportunity to, in my mind, I always think about, like I said, I grew up in the church. So I always think about it's a ministry in itself.
Sure.
On how you collaboratively have this experience, build this community for 2.5 hours,
Right.
and you leave people better than when they came in.
Yeah.
So that's kind of that's the check I'm looking for every time. Is like, how did people feel once they left
Right.
than when they came in? And that's a change I hope everyone experiences.
Well, and I would say with the Book of Mormon, it's also interesting because you've got music, but you also got the humor, which adds an extra part to that audience interaction, right?
It does. It does. I love a good comedy. I grew up with sneakily watching Richard Pryor and Red Fox and Eddie Murphy and all these great. Harlem Nights is one of my favorite movies. Like, but you see like how comedy and especially like sitcoms, really really good sitcoms, stand the test of time.
Right.
Like, you could rewatch a sitcom. I always watch like New Girl and stuff like that, but it's something about a comedy that delivers a message in a way that is humorous but still gets to the point.
Right.
And we see a lot of this. I was watching after the show. One of my favorite shows that I'm watching right now is Shrinking.
Okay.
And it's Jason Segel and Harrison Ford and all these people, and it's a comedy drama. But the points that they're driving home is cleverly veiled through like good comedy and good moments. But there's a message behind it, and I think that's what Book of Mormon has. It's like people get wrapped up in the comedy of it all at a certain point, but there is a message about community and about heart and about togetherness at a certain point. And that's what I'm hoping people really lock into once they leave. It's like, oh, okay, now I get it. Like when you're riding home and everything kind of rushes to you at one point, it's like, oh, that's what that was about.
Yeah. Do you think that's why it's been around for so long? Because it does offer that every night?
I do, and I think I mean, like I said, this thing's been 15 years, so there's got to be something.
Yeah, right.
And there's got to be a secret sauce somewhere.
Yeah.
But I think there is a need for humor, even when tackling issues and things that might be a little heavy.
Yeah, sure.
I always jokingly say at a certain point I'm like a terrible person at funerals, because I'm going to find a humorous way to tackle it.
Right.
And so, but that's life. You got to have the light with the dark, and they complement each other in a very, complementary way. But I do think that's what people yearn for in times of heaviness. Is I want to laugh when I'm having a terrible day. I'm like, I need to find a comedy. I don't want anything too serious.
Exactly.
But I want something that kind of levies like what I'm feeling, what I'm experiencing in my own life. And it does make it better. Or just having a good laugh with a friend. Like, there's so many ways to kind of take off what's heavy. And I think that show kind of allows people to do that, because it's just outrageously ridiculous humor happening. And like I said, it's good singing and amazing music and amazing acting. And like I said, our cast and our crew do a phenomenal job of putting it out every night. And I'm always amazed at like the comedic moments that, of course, we've rehearsed and things happen, but it's also sometimes the unknown if like one thing happens and it was unexpected and it's still hilarious, and even more hilarious than it was before. And so those are, everything's very fresh and very like yes and kind of mentality with our group. So I'm hoping people are ready for a treat when we come March 18th and March 19th.
Perfect. Nice plug right there at the end. I love that. ClemenceCenter.org. That's how a pro does it.
Hey.
Just before we go, how do you prepare every night? Because this must get kind of tiring at points. How do you prepare each night?
I do. Well, it's funny you say that. So we have a show tonight here in town at 7:30. I've been up since 7 because I hit the gym at like 8.
Yeah.
I do about hour 15 minutes with one of my castmates. We just started going together. I kind of just take it easy. I kind of like don't do too much. I check in on some things that I'm working on, or if I I'm thinking about going to the movies maybe today because why not? And that kind of thing. So I kind of like take it slow, and then once we're at the theater, I try to warm up my body. So that's a lot of foam rolling, a lot of Theragunning, a lot of, little minor things to really get the body ready, and then just hydrate, and eat a good meal. I try to have a nice little pre-show meal that's not too heavy, but keeps me energized enough. But also in those moments, I always the audience gives me that little extra. When I get out there, so I'm like, okay, I've done everything I can. I'm gonna do what I can on stage, and then once I start, interacting with people on stage and hearing the audience and they're involved, I was like, okay, I got my extra win. So, but I'm looking forward to, like I said, being in town March 18th and 19th. I know the cast is too. And,
well, good.
We'll see you guys soon.
Well, yes, coming to Elmira at the Clemens Center, March 18th and 19th. Thank you for giving us so much time. Best of luck. This has been great.
Thank you so much. I appreciate the time.
All right. Have fun here in Elmira. We look forward to seeing you.
Thank you.
All right. Stay with us. We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking after this.
And then the man didn't hire William Mattar and settled for a low-ball offer. Ooh. Ooh.
Bill, that's really not that scary.
Really? It gives me the chills. I mean, at William Mattar, we only handle motor vehicle accident cases, and they should have called us.
Dealing with big insurance doesn't have to be scary. Rideshare truck, motorcycle, car, only call William Mattar.
It's been a real journey since 2014 when I first had my injury. I realized that my home was just not working for me and that it was time to ask for help. Homes for Our Troops is really giving me my life back. The shower allows me to go in and turn around with my chair, pull down storage racks, automated door systems, hours of my morning given back to me. Adaptive sports are a huge part of my life, a huge part of my healing journey as well. Homes for Our Troops helped with making sure that I had a home gym so that I can continue to train. This past year, I was able to host Thanksgiving in my home. And it was the first time I was able to have my whole family in one place, and I was able to contribute to the meal. There are a lot more veterans in need, and Homes for Our Troops is going to be there to help them too.
Homes for Our Troops builds and donates specially adapted custom homes nationwide for severely injured post 9/11 veterans and enables them to rebuild their lives. Join our mission at hfotusa.org.
Good morning, I'm meteorologist Brandon Weathers. We can enjoy a warm and sunny Monday. Southwest wind around 10 miles per hour pushes the temperature in towards 67 degrees, about 25 degrees above our daily average high. In fact, average of low 40s will stay about that more mild overnight lows, even with clear skies. Then back in the 70s on Tuesday. We should see a wet stretch Tuesday night through Wednesday. Snow could
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam, brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back, broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio. Boy, do we have a lot of great comments. Let's get right to them. Good morning, Frank. Well, good morning, Rick. All I have today is what Brock said on Friday. Thank you, Rick. Comment from a different viewer. Good morning, Frank. Well, good morning to you. Very curious where this outrage was when fuel prices were even higher under Brandon's presidency. Biden. Yes, of course. So let's go, Brandon. All right. Mark writes in, at least Trump is trying to eliminate the buildup of mass destruction weapons in Iran instead of handing them money like Obama did and turning his back like Biden did. Terrorism is terrorism and it needs to end. Thank you, Mark. Comment from a different viewer. Rudy says, morning, Frank. Well, good morning, Rudy. My crew, my garage beer buddies and I predicted New York City Mayor Mamdani's election would be trouble, and we were right. There's much more to follow. He's here to fight America and bring more Islamic culture to America. Just look how weak and scared the UK is right now. Thank you very much. Comment from a different viewer. Good morning, Frank. Well, good morning to you. You'll probably be hearing about higher gas prices and the falling stock market. It's really not the end of the world. It's just liberal media. They only mention it when the Republicans are in charge. A true indicator for the end of the world would be no line at Dunkin' Donuts or people picking up their own pizza instead of having it delivered. That would be the signs of a struggling America. Thank you very much. And finally, Ken writes in, Trump authorized military action against a known enemy of America to stop them from achieving the means to attack us. Is viewed by Democrats as unconstitutional. If Trump had done nothing and Iran was eventually able to attack America with a nuclear weapon, the Dems would have blamed him for inaction. Regardless of what actions Trump does or doesn't take on any issue, he will either be painted a demon or a scapegoat by the legacy media and the Democrats. Thank you very much, Ken. Now, as Victoria Coates writes, all 4 Iran war assumptions were dead wrong, and Trump proves experts got fooled again. In the early days of Operation Epic Fury, while much remains unknown, one thing has been clear: how little the conventional wisdom about foreign policy in Washington, D.C. has to do with the realities taking shape on the battlefield. Traditionally, 4 things were assumed to be near inevitable if the United States and or Israel were to take significant military action against Iran. Iran's supreme leader would be untouchable. The Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps would deploy its terrorist proxies to ignite a regional war. Israel would be isolated in the Middle East and vulnerable to attack from Arab neighbors, and the United States would be isolated on the world stage and limited in what it could do to support Israel, which would benefit Russia and China. All 4 assumptions were dead wrong. Obviously, the supreme leader was not untouchable. He was eliminated in one of the opening strikes of the mission, along with much of Iran's senior leadership. His arrogant foolishness in gathering that leadership together was in fact the opportunity that prompted Epic Fury in the first place. But that did not prevent the survivors from organizing a succession meeting on March 3rd, which was in turn targeted. The demoralized remnants of the regime are now attempting to reestablish command and control with little in terms of structure or internal communications. In addition, the predicted mass regional attacks on Israel has not materialized because of Iran's disastrous decision to launch missiles against its neighbors, even those who've been acting as its mediators, such as Qatar and Oman. The region has unified not against Israel, but against Iran. There are even reports of Arab nations potentially participating in the strikes on Iran. The Abraham Accords, although under strain since the Hamas attack on October 7th, has held. Iran is, after all, a country, not a piece of crockery in a store. And President Trump's mission is not nation building. It is to give the American people the opportunity to go through the next half century freed from the deadly threat of the Islamic Republic, especially if that regime were to acquire a nuclear weapon. It would be even better to go through that period with a prosperous and secure partner in what the new Iran becomes. And that future will ultimately be for the people of Iran to secure. We got to take a short break. Boy, this show's going fast. Stay with us. We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking after this.
Bottles and formula?
Got it.
Extra diapers?
Not making that mistake again. Got it.
A 3-day supply of non-perishable food for each person in your household in case the power goes out? You may be prepared for a lot of situations, but a natural disaster might not be one of them. Convoy of Hope can help make sure you're ready when disaster strikes. Convoy of Hope, providing hope in every storm.
I don't think all that's going to fit in there.
Allegiance from Elmira to Myrtle Beach starts May 22nd, 2026. Whether it's a weekend escape or a week in the sun, Myrtle Beach is closer than ever. Non-stop to sun, sand, and seaside days. From takeoff to toes in the sand, your coastal getaway starts right here at Elmira Corning Regional. Mornings on the boardwalk, afternoons on the golf course, and evenings with oceanfront dining or a flight away with Allegiant's new direct flight. Starts May 22nd, 2026. Book now at AllegiantAir.com.
Good morning, I'm meteorologist Brandon Weathers. We can enjoy a warm and sunny Monday. Southwest wind around 10 miles per hour pushes the temperature in towards 67 degrees, about 25 degrees above our daily average high. In fact, average of low 40s will stay about that more mild overnight lows, even with clear skies. Then back in the 70s on Tuesday. We should see a wet stretch Tuesday night through Wednesday. Snow could
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam, brought to you by Boss Security and Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio. We're going to wrap up today's discussion on New York State issues after this. I wanted to mention this from Dan Gaynor. America is in the midst of kicking the snot out of an enemy that has dominated Middle East headlines for nearly 50 years. Naturally, some in the press are targeting President Donald Trump with ridiculous new allegations buried in the depths of the Epstein files. Now, we mentioned this earlier in the broadcast. I know many on the left are trying to suggest that we got involved in Iran because of the Epstein files, which is just laughable. But why? Because journalists still believe they can drag Trump through the mud, even in the middle of a war, and win elections for the Democratic team. If this sounds familiar, it sure as heck should. This has been the media strategy since Trump first decided to campaign as a Republican and ruin the left's plans for global domination. The press has run with every phony claim it could find. The Russian collusion allegations, mostly peaceful riots, and claims that the Hunter Biden laptop was 100% fake. Remember this political headline from October 19th, 2020, just in time to influence the presidential election. Quote, Hunter Biden's story is Russian disinfo, dozens of former intel officials said. Now we know the laptop was real and full of scandalous information about President Biden and his family, which is why the truth was buried under a mountain of lies from Trump haters and the journalists who love them. They were protecting their guy, the big guy, from the laptop fame. So big, in fact, that he ended up pardoning his son Hunter Biden before he left office. The 51 intel officials all lost their security clearances, but they did the damage they wanted. And the press, along with social media companies, hid the truth. Even notorious NPR lefty CEO Catherine Maher admitted during congressional testimony that the outlet had screwed up in 2020, saying, quote, I do want to say the NPR acknowledged we were mistaken in failing to cover the Hunter Biden laptop story more aggressively and sooner, she said. Of course, Biden still got the White House, NPR conveniently got funded, and the GOP got defeated. NPR won the trifecta. That's the context for yet another claim of a Trump scandal. Everywhere the media went this week, the goal was to include two names in the headlines together, Trump and Jeffrey Epstein. It doesn't matter whether it's an allegation, an old and unproven one at that. Why bother to hold back? All that matters is trying to hurt Trump. And the press was on board for every bit of it. There are the bitter folks at NPR, now vastly poorer, thanks to Trump, offering up this headline, quote, Justice Department publishes some missing Epstein files related to Trump. Or Radar Online with a tabloid-style headline, Missing Epstein Files Containing Explosive Trump Assault Claim, released by Pam Bondi after she was subpoenaed by Congress. Some of them just can't hide who they are. The leftist Daily Beast ran multiple pieces on the story, including this classic, quote, creepy nicknames Trump allegedly used with Epstein revealed by accuser. It includes a subhead worthy of a gender studies major saying, ew. The author of that story, Daily Beast reporter Catherine Boris, was an American Studies major, according to her website, and it shows. Considering this quote, I understand feeling powerless when faced with the looming specter of the patriarchy. I don't need to go through all of her quotes. You get the idea. That's an important perspective as journalists grab their pitchforks and torches for the billionth time, convinced this time they will take down the orange bad man. One interesting point is how some in the press are now terrified of Trump, or more likely his lawyers. Trump has scored two massive lawsuit victories against both ABC and CBS since he returned to the Oval Office. Other news organizations went from some form of allegation, another lawyer-preferred safe word, that included our friends at CNN, The Guardian, and The Hill. MS Now really covered its bases with unsubstantiated Trump allegations. That's a double word score in Scrabble, the legal edition. The late, great President Ronald Reagan used to advise us to trust but verify. We should update that warning for the legacy media. Distrust, they've earned it. All right, we got to take a break, and then we're going to wrap up today's edition. Stay with us. Get your last-second comments in.
More cars. Lower prices. Simmons Rockwell. Whether you're in the market for new, used, or certified pre-owned, Simmons Rockwell locations across the Twin Tiers have more of what you're looking for with our best price right on the windshield. Make car buying simple when you drive your deal at a Simmons Rockwell location near you, where you'll always find more cars at lower prices.
Having a safe home is essential to many aspects of our lives. From a sense of community and safety, to physical and mental health, to economic security and independence. Most homes in our communities are not accessible and are not designed to accommodate the changes that come with age, including the risk of falling. The Older Adults Home Modification Program helps reduce the risk of falls, improves safety, and increases accessibility and independence. Through this program, Rebuilding Together works with older adults to provide no-cost preventative home repairs so our neighbors can safely age in place in the homes and communities they love. To learn more, visit rebuildingtogether.org/safeathome.
Frankly Speaking Roof Cam, brought to you by Ball Security and Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back, broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio. Now, over the weekend, Congressman Nick Langworthy called on the United States Senate to immediately pass legislation to reopen and fully fund the Department of Homeland Security following a reported bomb threat that forced a Southwest Airlines flight to make an emergency diversion on Friday night. Southwest, well, we don't have to go through the specifics, but this incident is a powerful reminder that the threats facing our nation are real and require constant vigilance. Every day, the men and women of the Department of Homeland Security work to protect our airports, our borders, and our communities from dangerous threats. While TSA officers and other frontline personnel continue to show up and do their jobs under incredible difficult circumstances, the Senate's failure to act is unacceptable. National security should never be used as a political bargaining chip. Congressman Langworthy concluded by saying the safety of the American people must come first. The Senate should pass the House bill today and ensure that the Department of Homeland Security has the funding and support it needs to protect our country. The DHS slams Democrats for holding travelers hostage for political points as airport chaos sparks hours-long security lines. The Democrats' DHS shutdown has led to hours-long security lines at airports across the country, leading Americans to miss their spring break flights. There's zero reason for spring break travel to be held hostage for political points. Democrats must end this DHS shutdown now. Also, on New York State issues, I know we're moving fast. Oh, Mark writes in, I was watching Trump's speech and I got a laugh when he called the Democrats eggheads for letting criminal illegals in. Have a great day. Thank you very much, Mark. I did not see that speech. New York's Governor Kathy Hochul wants to weaken one of the nation's most ambitious climate laws in the name of affordability. It's a major shift for Governor Hochul, who is championing New York's climate efforts on a global stage and rejected permits for gas power plants. The moderate Democrat has laid the groundwork to seek changes in secretive, closed-door budget negotiations in Albany in the coming weeks. Quote, there are so many unforeseen factors, Hochul told reporters. There's going to be enormous costs. If Hochul succeeds in revising the 2019 law, it would be the most significant rollback on climate action in a liberal bastion since progressives embraced the Green New Deal concept. Hochul's political stock has risen significantly as she's executed a pronounced pivot on energy policy that's also included embracing a controversial gas pipeline and delayed a mandate she once championed for new buildings to electrify. Anyway, that does it. Oh, my goodness, we are out of time. Did you see Katie Couric is being mocked? She asked Gavin Newsom if he's too good looking to be president. The hard-hitting journalist, Katie Couric. All right, that does it for today's edition of Frankly Speaking. Thank you to everybody who joined us. I'm excited to learn about the Book of Mormon. On tomorrow's broadcast, we're going to be talking about Elmira Express, or talking with the Elmira Express Jr. about their upcoming Addams Family musical. So make sure that you tune in for that. Have a great day. Catch up. Maybe catch a nap after the time change. And we'll be back tomorrow morning, starting at 6 for Frankly Speaking, only on WYDC TV, Big Fox. We will see you tomorrow morning, bright and early. Look forward to it already. Have a great day, everyone.
Allegiance flight from Elmira to Myrtle Beach starts May 22nd, 2026. Whether it's a weekend escape or a week in the sun, Myrtle Beach is closer than ever. Non-stop to sun, sand, and seaside days. From takeoff to toes in the sand, your coastal getaway starts right here at Elmira Corning Regional. Mornings on the boardwalk, afternoons on the golf course, and evenings with oceanfront dining or a flight away with Allegiant's new direct flight. Starts May 22nd, 2026. Book now at AllegiantAir.com.
Precision, control, trust. Young's Tires is where performance meets the road. Michelin high-performance tires are built for exacting standards. That's why installation has to